U.S.-Africa Summit opportunity to strengthen Ethio-America relations. And India and Ethiopia colorfully celebrate 75th anniversary of diplomatic relation. Good morning, you're watching Addis News Hour. I'm Zoltan Desalegn. Thank you for joining us and do stay tuned. The National Security Advisor of the Ethiopian Prime Minister, Ambassador Redwan Hussein, said that the U.S.-Africa Summit, which happened recently in Washington, created an opportune platform to explain all about Ethiopia over the last 2 years. The Security Advisor stated that the forum made it possible to strengthen bilateral relationship between Ethiopia and the United States in a win-win approach. Johannes van Town has the following account.
The U.S.-Africa Summit ended with Ethiopia receiving high attention. Redwan Hussein, National Security Advisor to the Prime Minister, said that Ethiopia was able to explain the undue international pressure it has been facing for the past 2 years.
This forum has created an opportunity to meet US officials who were taking a position based on unsubstantiated information heard on media and from a distance, to explain the situation in detail, especially to explain the reform works before the conflict, as well as to highlight the works that what had given hope and which were actually bringing about change in a country.
The National Security Advisor Minister explained that it was of great significance for Ethiopia that this US-African summit was held the day after the Ethiopian government took responsibility and did many things to solve the problem of the northern part of the country peacefully. He also added that the agreement reached in Ethiopia has laid the foundation for strengthening the stagnant relationship between the two countries.
In view of the fact that we have changed the situation on the ground and made it was a platform to strengthen the relationship between the two countries, we have been able to reach the bodies from the legislature to the executive. As many African countries are happy with the agreement reached in Ethiopia, it was a platform that created a favorable environment for us to meet in person and create a better relationship.
Redwan, who pointed out that it is not necessary to have a relationship based on minor problems in Ethiopia, explained that Ethiopia expressed its desire to work in partnership and cooperation with America and various international institutions and reached agreements. He underscored the support announced by the World Bank is a demonstration for this.
The current hope is that pressures on Ethiopia will decrease over days. The World Bank has released more than $700 million of support. The support will continue in the same form. But from our side, apart from support, Ethiopia has many opportunities. So we are interested in working together. During our discussions with various members of Congress and senators, we reached an agreement on working together.
የኮንግረስ አባላትን ሴናተሮችን ለማግኘት ሞክረናል። በዚህ ረገድ የተሻለ መተማመንና እድል ለመፍጠር ተሞክሯል ማለት።
The National Security Advisor Minister said that the US-Africa Summit created opportunity to fix the strained bilateral relations between Ethiopia and America.
Indian Embassy to Ethiopia colorfully celebrates the 75th anniversary of the two countries' relationship on the premises of the embassy the previous day. During the occasion, the Indian ambassador to Ethiopia, Sri Robert Shetkinton, called on the people and the government of Ethiopia to further bolster ties between the two nations' development endeavors. Kasaun Jani has the following.
The relationship between Ethiopia and India is historical and dates back hundreds of years. In an exclusive interview with BBC English, Indian ambassador to Ethiopia said his country is keen to strengthen the long-standing relations with Ethiopia and a wide range of issues of common interest. According to the ambassador, the Indian community has been contributing a lot to Ethiopian education and other investment sectors.
One of the most visible aspects of our relations is education. I think if we speak to people of the older generation, they would invariably recall their school teacher who would have taught them either science or mathematics. So we have a number of Ethiopian teachers who even taught in interior places in Ethiopia. In recent times, we also have Indian faculty in public universities. And Ethiopian students form one of the largest group of students from Africa studying in India. So education is very visible.
India is among the top largest foreign direct investor countries in Ethiopia, with over 600 Indian companies operating in various sectors.
The next aspect would be business and economy. Business, because India has substantial presence in the business sector. About 650 Indian companies are registered with the Ethiopian Investment Commission, and I believe about 350 Indian factories are active on the ground. I only want to say is that as we celebrate 75 years of diplomatic relations between Ethiopia and India, I only want to say that it is the friendship between our two people that goes back about 2,000 years ago, the contacts we had through trade, then the contemporary excellent relations that we have in every sphere. I only want to say that the peoples of our two countries have shared these excellent relations. Let us expand our relations in every way so that in the end, both the people of these two countries, Ethiopia and India, can only benefit. And I just want to end this interview with this small slogan, Jai India, Jai Ethiopia, which means India wins, Ethiopia wins.
He added that India supports a solution that respects the territorial integrity of Ethiopia and an African solution for outstanding issues, appreciating the government of Ethiopia and a typical of peace deal efforts.
Ethiopia is a sovereign country. Ethiopia must make its own solution for its own problems. And in the context of the agreement that was signed in South Africa, what I only want to reiterate is that peace must win.
It was noted that Ethiopia is one of the first countries in Africa to establish a diplomatic relationship shortly after India gained its independence in August 1947.
Ethiopia launched the Yelimat Trufat development campaign in early November. It focuses on nutritional opulence. And the traditional food container limat represents a link between farmers, pastoralists, and consumers. Food self-sufficiency is directly linked to national sovereignty and dignity, and Yelimat Trufat campaign accelerates efforts to achieve food self-sufficiency at the family and national levels. Tagasunesa gives us a video graphics of what the campaign seeks to advise. Take a look.
ሌማት ማለት ብዙ ትርጓሜ ያለው ጥሬ ትርጓሜው ለምለም እንጀራ ማለት ነው። በሌላ በኩል ማድ ማለት ነው። ሌማት ቤተሰብ የሚበላበት ማድ ነው። ሌማት ላይ ከተረፈ ከቤተሰብ ተረፈ ማለት ነው። ከቤተሰብ ከተረፈ ወደ ጎረቤት ሄደ ማለት ነው። በቤተሰብ ደረጃ የምግብ ራስን መቻል ጉዳይ ኢትዮጵያ ካረጋገጠች በሀገር ደረጃ ያለው የምግብ ራስን መቻል ሩጫ ሚሳካ ይሆናል ማለት ነው። በሚቀጥሉት 4 ዓመታት ዶሮን፣ ስጋን፣ ወተትን፣ ማርን፣ አሳን ማትረፍረፍ እንፈልጋለን። ይህን ማድረግ እንችላለን። ልክ እንደ ግሪን ሌጋሲው፣ ልክ እንደ ስንዴው፣ ልክ እንደ ችግኝ መትከሉ ተረባርበን በአንድ ድምጽ ህዝባችን አሳብረን ከሰራን እንችላለን። ፕሮጀክት መጨረስ ባህል ሆኖ አሁን ያሉ ዋና ዋና ሜጋ ፕሮጀክቶች አልቀው የሌማት ትሩፋት ተሳክቶ በእያንዳንዱ ቤተሰብ ማድ ላይ ምግብ ከተረፈ ለምርጫ ባትወዳደሩም ችግር የለውም። የአንድ መንግስት ዜጎቹን መመገብ የሚያስችል ስራ በተርም ሰርቶ ምግብ የተረፈባት ኢትዮጵያ ካለች እኛ ቀጠልን አልቀጠልን ዋና አጀንዳ መሆን የለበትም። በሚቀጥለው 4 ዓመት ግን ይህን ማሳካት ግዴታ ተደርጎ መወሰድ አለበት።
Ethiopia's Green Legacy Initiative is gaining international acceptance. Responding to ETV, African history researcher Taganu Gosa suggested that the Green Legacy Initiative should be further integrated with economic policy too. Goshu Meliso has the following report.
Ethiopia endorsed a climate-resilient green economy strategy in 2011, and it has multiple targets as it naturally touches on various targets of the 2030 agenda. Contribution to food security is one of the objectives. The recent initiative spreaded by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has succeeded in planting 25 billion seedlings by mobilizing more than 20 million citizens throughout the nation. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed awarded Outstanding Africa Leadership Award for his Green Legacy initiative. Talking to ETV, African history researcher Taganu Gosa said Ethiopia's Green Legacy initiative is gaining international acceptance.
Countries in the world in general, especially the so-called developed world, are grappling with how to translate into meaningful action. When Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed arrived in America, one of the first recognition he has got is the job, what Ethiopia has achieved in terms of combating really this global climate change and the crisis that's looming. And this is very much important. The Green Legacy is the Prime Minister's personal policy initiative, and we are seeing results on the ground.
He suggested that the Green Legacy initiative should be integrated with economic policy too.
I think this policy initiative should grow and be integrated into the entire economic policy of the country. And because I say so, because we cannot sustain the achievement that is registered in the agriculture sector specifically without working equally, or to be honest, more importantly, on the environmental issues.
The initiative, Taganu said, is a lesson for other African countries and should serve as a springboard.
Down the line, this will really give a lesson to other African countries that are struggling with the same issues and suffering specifically from climate-induced crisis. Just lately, you heard from DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo, how many people died from severe flooding.
In order to realize the initiative, more works are needed to be done at grassroots level, the researcher noted.
The Ministry of Transport and Logistics Ethiopia announced on Monday the launch of National Blue Economic Strategy in collaboration with Intergovernmental Authority on Development. Dagmait Mogus, Minister of Transport and Logistics, stated that the development of a national blue economy strategy and implementation of the same is one of the core initiatives identified in Ethiopia's 10 years perspective plan and national logistics strategy. The minister indicated that the strategy further promotes collaboration for sustainable partnerships and projects in the various sectors of the blue economy and interventions to mobilize finances from public and private sources. The minister further confirmed that the newly launched National Blue Economy Strategy is projected to run from 2023 to 2027.
Now I'm preparing to host the news package of the day. Our reporters are always striving to present you fresh stories on Ethiopia's socio-economic and political affairs. And we, the presenters, we always strive to present to you the stories in a way that you can relate to. Before I head to the studio and present myself to the audience, I have to look presentable. Hello, dear
dear viewers, I'm Tabitha John and this is Addis News Hour. Do stay with us.
A water expert says the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam should be considered as a symbol of regional economic integration in addition to its contribution to Ethiopia's socio-economic development. Mekonnen Ayana, a water engineering scholar at the Adama Science and Technology University, stated that Ethiopians should strive to safeguard their national interest by conducting enhanced diplomatic work on transboundary rivers, including the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. The expert also reiterated that the need to have strong communication and water diplomacy efforts in order to correct the wrong narration being propagated by some in the downstream countries on Abai and other transboundary rivers. The scholar added that in this regard, much is expected from scholars and universities to work together in a coordinated manner to the realization of national goals. Currently, Ethiopia has been striving to supply electricity to the neighboring Kenya, Sudan, Djibouti, and South Sudan.